give India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India all set to vote in the third phase of polling on Tuesday. 93 of 543 seats to India's lower house of parliament will go to polls on May 7th. Leaders continue to campaign for the remaining phases. Israel closes Kerem Shalom crossing into Gaza after Hamas fired rocket from within the strip. While truce hopes remain slim as Netanyahu flatly rules out Hamas's demand for an end to the conflict in hostage exchange. Andrey Rublev wins his second Masters 1000 title, overcomes an opening set wobble to beat Felix Auger-Aliassime in the final of Madrid Open. All right, we'll get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India first. Campaigning for the third phase of India's Lok Sabha elections ended on Sunday evening. 11 states and union territories will be going to the polls on May 7th. Now, this phase will see all seats in Gujarat and parts of Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh up for grabs. As many as 1,351 candidates are in the fray for the third phase of polls. Some of the prominent names contesting the Lok Sabha elections include Union Home Minister Amit Shah, rebel BJP leader K.S. Ishwarappa, Union Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia, Dimple Yadav, Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Supriya Sule. Campaigning for the fourth phase of Lok Sabha elections scheduled for May 13 is gaining momentum as political leaders are holding rallies and roadshows across the nation in order to garner support for voters in favour of the party candidates. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Odisha and Andhra Pradesh today. Prime Minister will hold rallies in Odisha's Behrampur and Nabarangpur. Also, he will be holding rallies in Andhra Pradesh's Rajamundry and Anakapalli. And as we told you, campaigning for the fourth phase of election scheduled for May 13 continues in full swing. Political leaders are trying to woo the voters across the nation. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah will visit West Bengal today, where he will be holding rallies in Krishnanagar and Durgapur. Uttar Pradesh leader and BJP leader and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will be holding rallies in his state. He will hold election campaign in Unnao, Hardoi and Shahjahanpur. Also, to garner support in the party's favour, political parties are geared up to woo the voters. Samajwadi Party Supremo Akhilesh Yadav will be holding rallies in Uttar Pradesh's Kannauj. Chief Minister of West Bengal Mamata Banerjee, Chief Minister of West Bengal, will be holding rallies in her state. She will be holding rally in Birbhum and Durgapur. Also, Congress leader Kanhaiya Kumar, contesting from Northeast Delhi constituency, will file nomination today. Voting in Delhi scheduled for May 25th in the sixth phase of general election. As anticipation builds in Chhattisgarh, residents from all walks of life geared up for the upcoming polls on May 7th. From first-time voters to seasoned elders and notably the resilient farmer community, enthusiasm knows no bounds despite the scorching temperatures. Take a look at this report.
The state of Chhattisgarh will go to polls on May 7 on 7 seats. Everyone is very excited to go to polls. And so are the farmers, who are equally excited to cast their ballots come May 7.
In the heart of Surajpur, in the Indian state of Chhattisgarh, amidst the relentless heat, Madhusudan Sahu tirelessly tends to his farm, earning his livelihood through hours of labor. Yet, despite the challenges, his determination to cast his ballot nearby remains unwavering. He emphasizes the importance of exercising his democratic right.
मेरे को वोट करने के लिए भी प्रेरित करना है और मतदान भी करवाना है अधिकतम, और अधिक से अधिक मतदान के लिए जाएं, और मैं भी मतदान के लिए जाऊंगा और उत्साह बहुत है मतदान के लिए.
Bela Sahu is also eagerly anticipating the opportunity to vote on the May 7th, recognizing the crucial significance of participating in the electoral process.
गेहूं का खेती करते हैं हम लोग, ये सब भूसा उसा भर रहे हैं, अभी कटाई उटाई हुआ है तो मतदान करेंगे, हम लोग के लिए जरूरी है, इसलिए जाएंगे. मतदान का ही फायदा है कि सरकार हम लोग को कुछ देते हैं.
The unwavering determination of individuals to cast their votes despite numerous challenges speaks volumes about their concern for the future of Chhattisgarh.
The temperature is certainly high here in Chhattisgarh. And even though in this scorching heat, the spirits are high, people are very excited to go to polls on May 7 when 7 constituencies will go to polls here. And even farmers are very much excited to be a part of the biggest festival of democracy. With camera person Sarda Ranjan, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Chhattisgarh.
In West Bengal, Murshidabad goes to polls on Tuesday in the third phase, that is on 7th of May. And this will be witnessed at Jangipur, Uttar and Dakshin Malda. Murshidabad is a historical city dotted with monuments and ruins dating back 2000 years, recalling a legal past. But stakeholders say that tourism infrastructure hasn't been developed in Murshidabad optimally and are urging the powers that be during the elections to give it due attention. Gautam Roy gets us more.
Murshidabad's Hazardwari Palace and Museum stands testimony to its grand past on one of the banks of the Ganga River. It's a palace with 1,000 doors, around 100 of them fake to confuse enemies. It was built in the 19th century under the reign of Nawab Nazim Humayun Jah, who ruled present-day West Bengal, Bihar, Odisha and even Bangladesh. It houses a museum now with relics of regal times, tales of conquest, betrayals and lost battles to British invaders. Murshidabad is going to polls on the 7th of May in the third of the 7-phased Indian national elections. The May heat and the polls are keeping the number of tourists low these days, but those still visiting the monument come away all smiles.
It's a little hot, but otherwise it's beautiful. I love the fact that there are these small houses and people are staying here, and then in between we have these old architecture and some mosques, some buildings. That's really beautiful, the entire place.
Murshidabad is replete with monuments which date back nearly 2000 years and tell the tale of different dynasties in the region. But many of them are in ruins and need better care and promotion.
साल में 18 से 20 लाख.
Almost 2 million domestic and foreign tourists come to Murshidabad every year. We would like the government to pay some attention to Murshidabad from the perspective of tourism. There are hardly any good places for tourists to stay overnight or more. So if the government really takes interest in developing the tourism infrastructure in this region, its economic development will be enhanced.
हमारा जिला का economic.
Some members of Murshidabad's erstwhile noble and aristocratic families have converted their Rajabaris and Havelis into heritage hotels and homestays to give visitors a regal experience. But such options are few and far between, and stakeholders say more are required.
If such experiences can be had in Rajasthan and Gujarat, some effort can work wonders also in Murshidabad. It is a repository of nobility and heritage. It has a lot of scope for development which hasn't been done yet.
Murshidabad's Hazardwari Palace, or Palace with 1,000 doors, is just one of the historical monuments that are there in Murshidabad that take us back to the Bengal Sultanate era. And the people of Murshidabad are now seeking in the time of elections that they should be promoted so that the people from world over come here to see what a glorious past this city had. With camera person Uttam Singh, this is Gautam Roy in Murshidabad for DD India.
The Election Commission of India is hosting 75 international visitors from across 23 different countries of the world to witness the world's greatest celebration of democracy, the general elections of India. Now, these include chief election commissioners and members of electoral bodies of various countries like Bhutan, Mongolia, Georgia, Chile, Maldives, Fiji, Bangladesh, Australia, among many others. On Sunday, the delegates were also given presentations on how the elections of such a large scale as that of India are conducted successfully. The Chief Election Commissioner of India, Rajiv Kumar, also announced that the international guests would also be taken to 6 different states of India to witness the third phase of election on May 7th.
It's a matter of great pleasure and satisfaction that on our invitation, the international visitors from 23 countries, more than 75 in number, are here to witness, to do as a visitor our elections. And this is in line with our established policy of disclosing, working from the position of strength, that we have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide, so we are inviting them. We are saying go to the booths. They are going to 5 cities, 5 states, and they'll go even to the booths to see how democratic festival is being celebrated in India in a transparent manner.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir would voluntarily seek integration with India, inspired by the development progress witnessed in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. In an interview with India's news agency PTI, he remarked, and I quote, "I think India will not have to do anything. In fact, the way the ground situation has changed in Jammu and Kashmir, the way the region is witnessing economic progress, and the way peace has returned there, I think demands will emerge from people of POK that they should merge with India." The Defence Minister said that we will not have to use force to take POK, as people would say that we must be merged with India. Such demands are now coming. All right, in some other news, the passenger ferry service between India and its southern neighbouring country Sri Lanka is scheduled to resume on 13th of May. The service will connect India's Nagapattinam and Sri Lanka's Kanke-Santurai, situated in the northern province, strengthening maritime connectivity between India and Sri Lanka, as it was a vital component of the vision document for economic partnership jointly adopted during the visit of President of Sri Lanka to India in July last year. Now, this is in keeping with India's strong commitment to Sri Lanka's economic recovery. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India now. Chief of Army Staff of the Indian Army, General Manoj Pandey, paid a visit to Sikh Light Infantry Regimental Centre in northern state of Uttar Pradesh's Fatehgarh. General Manoj Pandey paid homage to the bravehearts and reviewed the ceremonial parade. He also unveiled Blood Brothers Corner, symbolizing the strong bond between Sikh and Bombay Sappers, a regiment of the Indian Army's Corps of Engineers. India's National Testing Agency conducted the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, or the NEET test, for pre-medical entrance exam on Sunday. More than 2 million were eligible for the test. It was conducted at different centres across 557 cities throughout the country and 14 cities outside India. India's Manipur Governor Sushri Anusuya Uike inaugurated School on Wheels at a ceremony held in the state's capital, Imphal. The initiative, which is being implemented by Vidya Bharati Shiksha Vikas Samiti, aimed to reach out to the students in the relief camps in the state. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. With almost half the votes counted, Panama's former Security Minister Jose Raul Molino registers an early lead in the country's presidential election. We'll get you the details of the largest running event in the world, Wings for Life World Run, bringing together more than 200,000 people from 169 countries. We also get you a special report on how, even after 140 years, the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway remains the lifeline of the Queen of Hills.
Versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live and I'm Preeti. Let's get to international updates. Israel launched a counter-strike on Rafah after 3 Israeli soldiers were killed in a Hamas attack near the Palestinian city. Hamas's armed wing targeted the Kerem Shalom crossing into Gaza. Israel's military said that 10 projectiles were launched from Rafah towards the crossing, which it said was now closed to 8 trucks. However, other crossings remain open. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet has voted unanimously to close Qatari television network Al Jazeera's operations in the country. Now, this comes after the Israeli parliament passed a law allowing the temporary closure in Israel of foreign broadcasters considered to be a threat to national security during its conflict with Hamas. According to a report, Israeli authorities raided the Jerusalem hotel room used by Al Jazeera as its office after the shutdown order. Al Jazeera is funded by the Qatari government. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected Hamas's demands for an end to the conflict in Gaza in exchange of release of hostages. Netanyahu rejected Hamas's demand of complete Israeli withdrawal. He added that the move will leave Hamas in power, which was unacceptable to Israel. This came as Hamas leaders held a second day of truce talks with Egyptian and Qatari mediators in Cairo.
Contrary to these publications, it is Hamas that is preventing the release of our hostages. We are working in every possible way to free the hostages. We are not willing to accept a situation in which Hamas battalions leave their tunnels, re-establish control over Strip, rebuild their military industries, go back to threatening citizens of Israel in the communities near Gaza, the city of the south, and throughout the country.
Alright, let's get to updates related to Russia-Ukraine crisis now. Russian airstrikes killed a person and injured 24 in Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv and the surrounding region. The attacks took place on Orthodox Easter Sunday. Kharkiv withstood a weeks-long Russian attack in the early days of February 2022 Russian offensive, and it has been a frequent target of attacks in the recent weeks. Russian forces have taken control of the village Okretine in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. The village lies northwest of the one-time Ukrainian stronghold of Avdiivka, which Russia captured in February. Russia has made slow but steady advances since taking Avdiivka, with a string of villages in the area falling to Moscow's forces. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Paris for a rare visit against the backdrop of mounting trade disputes with the European Union. French President Emmanuel Macron is set to urge Xi to reduce trade imbalances and to use his influence with Russia over the war in Ukraine. Xi is due to meet Macron and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen on Monday. One of Macron's key objectives is to caution Xi against supporting Russia in its offensive against Ukraine. Western officials are concerned about potential Chinese involvement in supplying arms to Russia, which could destabilize the conflict further. Macron emphasized on the necessity of working with China to safeguard the stability of the international order, while von der Leyen said that she will press for fair competition with China in talks with Xi. Philippines and the United States troops continue to undertake largest annual combat drills as Beijing's growing assertiveness in the region raises fears of a conflict. Exercise Balikatan, a Tagalog word meaning shoulder to shoulder, is among the most complex Philippine-US drills. The training, which began in late April, continues through May 10 and involves more than 16,000 troops. While the Philippines is poorly armed, its proximity to South China Sea and Taiwan would make it a key partner for the United States in the event of a conflict with China. Panama's former Security Minister Jose Ron Molino built a commanding lead in the country's presidential election with almost half the votes counted. He was one of the favorites for the presidency after he replaced popular ex-president Ricardo Martinelli on the ballot after Martinelli was barred from running due to a money laundering conviction. The new president will also need to fix Panama's pressing economic problems, tackle corruption and restore the country's reputation as an investment haven. With more than 45% of the ballots tabulated, Molino was pulling ahead with 34% of the tallied votes, with second place Ricardo Lomana getting 25%. Chad's people go to the polls on Monday, 3 years after their military leader seized power in the first presidential election in Africa's Sahel region since a wave of coups happened. Mohamed Idris Deby, who seized power the day rebels killed his long-ruling father Idris Deby in April 2021, has promised to bolster security, strengthen the rule of law and increase electricity production. Monday's vote pits Deby against his Prime Minister Sakis Masra, previously a political opponent who fled into exile in 2022 but was allowed back a year later. Also running is former Prime Minister Albert Brahimi Padake and also 7 other candidates. The vote coincides with the temporary withdrawal of US troops from Chad, an important Western ally in the region of West and Central Africa, courted by Russia. Some 8.5 million people registered to vote. Provisional results are expected by May 21st and final results by June 5th. The long-running saga around cancelled flights has ended after Australian airline Qantas and Australian Competition and Consumer Commission agreed on a settlement. Both the parties had agreed to pay a penalty of $66 million to settle a lawsuit that accused Qantas Airlines of illegally selling thousands of tickets for flights that had already been cancelled. The penalty is subject to the approval of the Federal Court of Australia, it said in a statement. As part of the settlement, Qantas will start remediation program for passengers affected by the cancellations, with each impacted customer receiving compensation. Qantas was sued last August by the ACCC. All right, next we get you more updates from the world that are making it to the headlines. Actor Bernard Hill, best known for the roles in Titanic and Lord of the Rings, passed away at the age of 79 years. Born on December 17, 1944, he started his career in Yosser Hughes' 1982 miniseries Boys from the Black Stuff, which became an ode to the disenfranchised working class community in Great Britain. More than 200,000 people from 169 countries took part in the 11th edition of the Wings for Life World Run. United by the motto "Running for those who can't," runners, walkers and wheelchair users gathered at one of the 345 started points across the globe to participate in the largest running event in the world, covering an average distance of 11.5 kilometers. French bakers beat Guinness Book record by baking the world's longest baguette of 140 meters, reclaiming a record of one of the nation's best-known emblems taken by Italy for 5 years. The baguette, about 235 times longer than the traditional one, was made in Ciernes in the suburbs of Paris during the event for the French Confederation of Bakers and Pastry Chefs. Eurovision 2024 began in the Swedish city of Malmö, where 37 contenders walked the turquoise carpet amid heightened security and calls for boycotts during Israel's participation. It will be the 7th time Sweden is hosting the song contest and the 3rd time Malmö will stage the competition. On to sports now, Andrey Rublev overcame an opponent's set wobble to beat Felix Auger-Aliassime in the final of the Madrid Open on Sunday to win his second Masters 1000 title. Augurelis had moved into the final when 3 of his 5 opponents in Madrid gave him walkovers, including top seed Yannick Sinner, who pulled out with an injury before their quarter-final clash. 26-year-old Rublev had come into the tournament in Madrid in poor form, having lost his previous 4 matches on the tour, but dropped only 2 sets en route to the title. The Darjeeling Himalayan Railway is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The railway, built in 1881, helped connect the hills of Darjeeling with the plains, bringing down the prices of essential commodities and helping in the export of tea. It established Darjeeling on the world map. And now, more than 440 years later, the Darjeeling Railway still runs on a small stretch between Darjeeling and Goom, transporting people back in time. Mark Lynn gets us more.
The Darjeeling Himalayan Railway isn't just a stretch of tracks. It's a historical marvel that winds its way through time and terrain. It has UNESCO World Heritage status because it is an innovative transportation system developed in the 19th century that transformed the landscape of the Darjeeling Hills from a cluster of huts to a bustling hub of culture and commerce. In 1878, Franklin Prestige, regarded as the founder of this Wonder Rail link, saw immense possibilities in linking the hills of Darjeeling and the plains by rail. Prices of essential commodities were 3 times dearer in the hills than in the plains. The railway over time was able to bring down the cost of essential commodities between Darjeeling and Siliguri and carry tea for export, which established Darjeeling on the world map. Technologically, it became viable because of the tiny 2-foot gauge and small locomotives that were powerful enough to climb steep gradients. UNESCO World Heritage Committee inscribed DHR as a World Heritage Site on the 5th of December 1999 because it is an outstanding example of the influence of an innovative transportation system on socio-economic development of a multicultural region, which was to serve as a model for similar developments in many parts of the world. Today, a short ride on this gateway to the spectacular Himalayas is all that remains, and it is full of mystery and imagination. The tiny 4-wheeled steam locomotive is a living legend of the 19th century, and looking out at the mesmerizing scenery literally transports one back in time, one whistle at a time.
Alright, that's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screens to download now. Also, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.